Ryokan, the 18th century Japanese Zen poet, gives us this excellent advice. When I see learned priests lecturing on the sutras, their eloquence seems to flow in circles. The 5 periods of the law and the 8 doctrines. Nice theories, but who needs them? Pedants have swelled heads, but ask them matters of real importance, and all you get is empty babble. So this is fair comment. It is possible to become so wrapped up in theories that we lose the common touch that helps us to give advice straight from the heart. It is comparatively easy to explain the solution to another person's problems by reeling off basic theosophical teachings concerning reincarnation and karma, and then becoming so self-satisfied that we maintain a detachment through it all. But this attitude does not help ease the real pain at the centre of the suffering. We all suffer from loneliness from time to time, and the real loneliness comes from our own alienation from the spirit that sustains us. We are surrounded by the waters of life, but believe that we are in a desert. No wonder the voice of the silence laments, "Alas, alas, that all men should possess a lyre, be one with a great soul, and that possessing it, a lyre, should so little avail them." This profound statement calls for much meditation, but we tend to rush on in our studies, thinking that the more we read, the more we learn. Learning is not repeating parrot fashion the facts at our disposal to our fellow human beings. This is thought to be an act of charity and compassion. But is it? The theosophical ideas of charity mean personal exertion for others, personal mercy and kindness, personal interest in the welfare of those who suffer, personal sympathy, forethought and assistance in their troubles or needs. We believe in relieving the starvation of the soul as much, if not more, than the emptiness of the stomach. And that's from The Key to Theosophy by H.P. Blavatsky. So these few words give us the key to how we should act for the good of others. The power to transform, uplift and inspire should be the only power to covet. These are the true siddhis for the aspiring bodhisattva, who will not be in the slightest bit concerned about gaining superhuman abilities like seeing into the future or travelling about in a counterfeit body. The greatest power is to love unconditionally, and through this love to help sufferers realise that they are not weak, miserable sinners, but divine beings, overflowing with light and beauty, spiritual energy and clear vision. The words of the voice of the silence are deceptively simple in language, and yet if we see in the context of them other different traditions, we may see the outlines of a picture evolving. In time, our intuitions will begin to fill in the details and the colour. Certainly we need to keep Theosophy alive and never lose sight of its true purpose, which is to make us aware of our divine origins and destiny. We have to work to realise this and keep in mind that this awareness is the only thing of real importance. All genuine spiritual literature tells us to try to understand the transitory nature of the manifested universe. This seems rather depressing, but we can switch our minds to realise what is undying in our being. Slowly, we gain confidence and learn to be hopeful during the trials of life. Even if things become dark and we feel that we are swamped by misfortunes and problems, we can still hold on to our true, undying nature. This is a talisman that we need at all times. All those stories we read of heroes and heroines fighting dragons and overcoming enemies with magical weapons are true in one sense. We are all heroes and heroines with magical weapons galore. The mind can achieve anything if we but believe in ourselves, in our true selves, that is. Now there is the key. belief in our true selves. Often in life we feel totally alone. Even our family and friends cannot understand us. This happens particularly as we progress along the spiritual path. It is a heartache that cannot be communicated and may become the seeds of fear and depression. Unfortunately, society does not know how to deal with this and thinks that a few pills or a psychiatrist will solve the problem. Well, they may in part, up to a point, but they are certainly not getting to the heart of the problem. We need to gain more faith in the power of the Spirit. Although many of us accept the reality of our spiritual dimension, we do not have the confidence to use it. We have not grasped its significance, nor realised that all ills, whether physical, mental or moral, can be cured by a correct understanding and manifestation of the Spirit. Krishna tells us in the Bhagavad Gita that his devotees will never perish, and that he is the path, the comforter, the Lord, the witness, the abode, the asylum, the lover, the origin, the dissolution, the foundation, the treasure house, the imperishable seed. As long as we think of Krishna as some strange alien god, we will never grasp the true significance of that assurance. But if we can see him as a symbol of the higher self, then all falls into place. The real part of our nature is all those things mentioned, and many, many more. We develop a wider understanding when we begin to see the same divinity in others. Until then, we can be very self-centred, even if we profess to follow the Theosophical path. The real understanding comes when we see only true divinity as we look into the eyes of another human being. As H.P. Blavatsky says, we can only reach genuine wisdom through the whole of humanity, regardless of race, creed, sex, caste and colour. For there is no such thing as separateness throughout the whole of the manifested universe, although we imagine that there is. And we also create our own limitations. Not all the wealth in the universe can buy one moment of clarity, and anyone who has felt that clarity would not trade it for any material possession. Unless we learn to love completely and with true sympathy and imagination, we will not feel like complete human beings. Truly, Maya has cast her spell upon us. We think we are alone. We believe that we have to get entrapped into concepts that lessen the soul and make us automatons. We think we need to deny ourselves the joy and bliss of true communion with fellow creatures to be really detached. To do so is to lie to our souls. It is only in the sacred space of our own inner temple that we can ever really know what is good and true and beautiful to us. We will always have the critic, whether a materialist or religionist, telling us that we are going wrong and that we must follow another way to be a success in whatever we are doing. This is the lie we must expose. There is only one guide, and that is our own higher self. If we believe that this higher self has anything cold or unresponsive in its nature, then we err completely. It is the reservoir of complete and utter bliss, and if we do not access this and realise it in our lives, we have nothing of value to give to humanity in its hour of need. Maybe this is easier said than done, and how many times do we wake up in the morning feeling empty and devoid of any true spiritual feelings? Living in a materialistic society is to be constantly bombarded with negative influences that affect us subtly. We also have to contend with the countless subliminal messages that gain entry into our consciousness. How, in the midst of all this, can we find that still centre, that quiet harbour, free from all this insanity? We must be aware that despite all of our struggles, the self never changes. This is the pure, powerful message that our souls give to us, but we must listen. Despite all our sufferings and agony, our tears and cries of loneliness, we must hearken to that message and hope. As long as we can cultivate hope, we can weather the worst storms and realise that the genuine part of our nature is untouched by all of these. This realisation gives us the surest basis to build our efforts towards self-confidence. Capital S, capital E, capital L, capital F, the true self, which is so different from the confidence that society imposes on us today, based upon the personal self and its competition with other personal selves. Such ideas as self-assertion are no less than efforts to push ourselves forwards at another's expense, and we should be attempting to work harder to be hand in hand with our brothers and sisters for the good of all. Fortunately, a much wider view of the subject is arising, and perhaps the self-assertion of the future will be grounded in an increasing awareness of that true self that we all share and that we should look for daily in our fellow human beings. Swami Vivekananda said, "Potentially, each one of us has that infinite ocean of existence, knowledge and bliss as our birthright, our real nature, and the difference between us is caused by the greater or lesser power to manifest that divine." Therefore, the Vedanta lays down that each man should be treated not as what he manifests, but as what he stands for. Each human being stands for the divine, and therefore every teacher should be helpful, not by condemning man, but by helping him to call forth the divinity that is within him. So, this is not just Vedanta, but equally Theosophical teaching, and it was just for this that the Theosophical Society was founded and the secret doctrine was written.